Emma Hardy. I am the Communications Director at the Internet Watch Foundation, and I'm here today to talk about the work that we do, how we do it, the successes that we've had, and a couple of the trends. So how we've dealt with the situation of the coronavirus and self-generated child sexual abuse material, which is what we're seeing more and more of in our hotline. So I just want to draw your attention to slide 1. And we created a podcast earlier this year, 6-part series. We released it, and this gives a more in-depth overview of this area of work, and it sets it into an international context. It is in English. I'm sorry about that. It's not translated, but it will give you a really good overview of everything that goes on internationally in this area of work. So I want to talk first of all to slide 2. We are a not-for-profit organisation, and we have been around now for 24 years, so quite some time. We predate a lot of the big, well-known internet companies that are around now. IWF finds and removes images of child sexual abuse material, and how we do that is through our partners. Partnerships are everything to us, and there are just a few partners in the bubble on the slide there, and you can see one in Hope. There are a number, quite a large number, nearly 50 in Hope hotlines around the world, and that's the International Association of Internet Hotlines. And through this partnership, we're able to help together get images and videos of child sexual abuse removed from the internet. We also have a network of 43 portals. So these are reporting portals in 43 countries around the world, offering people a place to report this kind of material to us. And they're all in countries that don't necessarily have the means or the need for a full hotline like IWF. And moving on to slide 3, you will see that we are supported by a large number of internet companies all around the world, more than 150. And there are some logos on there, which I'm sure you will recognize. So many of these organizations, these organizations support our work year after year, and they provide the majority of the funds for our work. The final 10 to 12% of our funding comes from the European Commission for now, but due to Brexit, that will soon end, and we're looking for alternative sources of funding. Now, on to slide 4. How do we do our work? We have a team of highly trained analysts who go out and they find proactively child sexual abuse material, as well as take incoming reports from the public. So it could be from the public, or it could be from the police or internet companies, for example. Back in 2014, we were given the ability by our then Prime Minister, David Cameron, to be able to proactively search for this material, and it made such a difference to the number of reports. They just increased hugely. So we were able to be so much more effective because of this. The second bullet point down on that slide briefly references the stages that we go through to get content removed. So a report is created either from the public or material that we find ourselves, and then an assessment is carried out by our analysts. They're looking at the age of the child in the imagery and the severity of the abuse, and they're ultimately trying to determine, does this fail UK law? If it does, we trace where that content is hosted, and hosted means the physical server that is holding that piece of data that is the image or the video. So we traced that, and then we work through our partners to help get that content removed in whichever country it happens to appear in. Now, in the meantime, we do populate a large number of data sets and services that we offer the internet companies in membership with us. So one of these data sets, for example, is our keywords list. Now, our keywords list is a list of codes. It might be letters and numbers, for example, that identify images or videos of child sexual abuse that are known by people who want to find this. Our list last year went from 453 to over 5,000 now, due to a piece of work that we've been doing to grow and expand our keywords list so we could be ever more effective. Now, if you imagine an internet service provider or a search engine, for example, taking our keywords list. It means they're able to block and filter against search results coming up against those key terms. So ultimately, someone is not going to find the child sexual abuse material that relates to that keyword. As I said, partnerships are everything to us, and we have partnerships with law enforcement, with other hotlines, and with the charity sector all over the world. We cannot do this work alone. We also build our own technology. So we build technology for good, and that technology is aimed to support our work in the hotline to be able to find and remove this criminal material. And our data sets and services are taken by large numbers of technology companies all over the world. Moving on to our trends and data from last year, at the beginning of 2021, we will do a complete review of all our data this year, and we'll publish it in around April next year for people to be able to use in their own presentations and inform their own work. So we're still working from 2019 data at the moment. And our analysts processed 260,000 reports that came into us. And of those, 132,000 showed images and videos of children being sexually abused. Now, each one of those reports could be one, or it could be many hundreds or even thousands of individual images and videos. So ultimately, we are talking about millions of individual images and videos of child sexual abuse being removed from the internet last year because of the work that we do through our partnerships with others. The next slide, so slide 6, shows you a chart with bars, and each of these talks about the category of child sexual abuse material. So category A is the most severe, and this depicts rape and sexual torture. Then you have category B and category C, and what I want to draw your attention to is the 58% block, the blue block of category C, which has been getting bigger the proportion has been getting larger over the past few years. And this is something I'm going to come back to soon. Now, slide 7 then shows the age and sex of the victims that we see in the images. And you'll notice that overwhelmingly, we see images and videos of girls, and that's been increasing over the past year or so. And also we see large numbers of children aged 11 to 13 years old and 7 to 10 years old. And that's something else I'm going to come back to. Slide 8 just gives you an idea of the sorts of data we hold and where we trace the child sexual abuse material to. So you'll see the largest amount that we trace it to, the largest amount of material that we trace is found to be hosted in the Netherlands. Many people may be asking the question, well, surely there's a lot of material that's actually hosted in the United States. Yes, there is. And there are also some huge, very mainstream internet companies in the United States, and an important law about mandatory reporting. That law says that if you're a US company and if you find child sexual abuse material on your services, you have to notify the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Now, what this means is large numbers of child sexual abuse material are found by industry and reported in to their home hotline in the US. We don't then find that material. Essentially what we find is what industry isn't already finding itself. So that's why we find a lot of material hosted in the Netherlands, and you can see where else we find material there. This isn't an exhaustive list. This is a top 10 from 2019. Moving on to slide 9, this is just illustrating the kind of success that we've had in the UK because of our model. We have taken a zero tolerance approach to child sexual abuse material in the UK since IWF was founded in 1996. And when we were founded, 18% of the world's child sexual abuse material was hosted in the UK. Since 2003, that's been less than 1%. And last year it was 0.1%. So on the one hand, it's a UK success story, but also we might ask ourselves, well, so what? What difference does that make if actually content is available on the internet anywhere around the world? Our mission is to help find and reduce child sexual abuse material wherever it's hosted, and we won't stop until that happens. I want to move on now to slide 10, which is all about COVID-19 trends. And we noticed once the UK and others went into lockdown in March this year, there was a global slowdown in the removal of child sexual abuse imagery from around the world. This is because abuse teams weren't necessarily working at that time. IWF was reduced to a 50% capacity hotline for a small period of time, and other hotlines that we would routinely work with were closed for a period of time. All this meant that more child sexual abuse material was available at any one time during the first period of lockdown. Things have now leveled off, and we know that there isn't this slowdown in the removal any longer. We have also experienced a 50% increase in reports to us from the public. So at the same time that our team is reduced by 50%, we're receiving 50% more reports into us. And we think this is because more and more people are online and on the internet. And so more people are making a report to us. This has largely been sustained through the year. And when I last looked, I think it was about a 37.5% increase through the whole year that we've experienced. So we are still receiving more reports to our hotline this year than we did last year. The other thing we found out at the beginning of the lockdown was a sort of measure for how many attempts there were in the UK to access child sexual abuse material. So the irony is we've been very good at reducing the child sexual abuse material that is hosted in the UK over the course of time. What we have not been successful in reducing is the appetite that people have in the UK to want to see this material, which is particularly sad. We offer what's called a URL list, and this is a list of available child sexual abuse material that's live and currently available on the internet. We are working behind the scenes with our partners at the same time to get that removed from the internet. But as a kind of disruptive and preventative measure, we distribute this list to internet service providers, to filtering companies and other types of tech organizations in order to prevent their users from finding or stumbling across this material while it's live. Just 3 companies provided us with data at the beginning of the lockdown, and that data told us that there had been in the region of 8.8 million attempts to access the child sexual abuse material on our list at the beginning of lockdown. Now, that's just 3 companies worth of data just from the UK. There are more companies that take our URL list. In fact, when I last checked, 79 companies took this list and deployed it around the world. So if you imagine, in fact, it's hard to imagine how many attempts might there be to access child sexual abuse material in any month, in any day, in any hour, or in any minute. It's a horrendous figure. And some people will say, but you know, there's bots out there that crawl the internet. Yes, they will be making those hits as well, and that will be included. We can't separate out, I haven't got the data that separates out those attempts, but 8.8 million attempts from bots, I don't think so. It's a really sad state of affairs. Coupled with this, we are seeing a rising trend in what's termed self-generated or youth-produced child sexual abuse material. This is material that we often see where the child has been groomed or coerced or encouraged to behave sexually across a webcam in the way that I'm talking to you now. And someone on the other side of that webcam is capturing it. Now, I want to move on to slide 11, which will detail the variety of ways that self-generated child sexual abuse material is created. And I do apologise that it's all written in English. So the main areas that we deal with are where there is coercion or deception involved. We have to kind of make this assumption because we don't know for certain what's encouraged that child to behave in that sexual way. But very often we can see that the child is interacting with somebody across a webcam, and we hear what they're saying, and they might be saying, oh, I'm not going to do that, or okay, I might do that. So they're responding to things they're being asked to do, and we can hear that very clearly on the videos that we see in our hotline. I also want to point out that the term self-generated child sexual abuse is a dreadful one. It doesn't properly encompass or accurately describe the experience of the child or the way that children are coerced into this material, but it's kind of the best terminology we've got at the moment until we come up with something better. So on slide 12, it gives a breakdown of what we see within the self-generated child sexual abuse material coming into our hotline. Overwhelmingly, we see images and videos of girls being shared, where girls have been tricked and coerced into producing this material. And coming back to that category C bar chart that was in blue, and it was 58% of the total of what we see is category C. Of the self-generated side, overwhelmingly 55% is category C. So it really boosts that category C severity of imagery that we see. Most often, we also see this affecting girls aged 11 to 13 years old. They're by far the most prevalent group most prevalent group of children that we see in this imagery. Following that, children aged 7 to 10 years old is the group where we most often see this imagery shared after 11 to 13s. So I wanted to give you an idea of exactly the kind of thing that we see. And we have been following a girl called Becky in our hotline. Now, Becky is a girl, she's maybe 10 or 11 years old, and we see her in her bedroom and a bathroom setting. And we know that she's alone because she picks up her laptop and she moves around like this. So we can see there's nobody behind her. She's being encouraged to behave sexually over the webcam, and somebody on the other side is recording that. In a third of all the captures we see of Becky that have been shared online, she is being encouraged to insert everyday items into her vagina. This is what's happening to girls in our bedrooms, and it's something that we need to try and prevent. We see this kind of imagery of Becky twice a day, every day. This imagery is out there and it's being shared, and we're doing everything we can with our partners to get it removed. What we're trying to do in the UK is to bring forward a national campaign to reach girls and to reach parents, to educate them about what we're seeing and how they can help prevent the creation of this material in the first place and not to fall victim to this. So that wraps up my presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm very, very happy to take any questions. Please do check out our podcast, Pixels from a Crime Scene, which is in English, I'm afraid, but it will give you a really good understanding of a wider area and a wider context of our work. Thank you very much.